What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another live Pendergast podcast on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. And ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute honor to sit down with the legend, Jay Power. What is up, Jay?
Man, it's a pleasure to be here, dude. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so I'm excited. It's gonna be a bunch of fun.
Me too, man. It's an honor to have you on, man. I can't wait to get into it and hear and learn about you and all about your
Yeah,
journey, man. So let's just start. Where did it
yeah.
start with you on two wheels?
Let's go, dude. Well, all right. So I was thinking about this. I knew you were gonna start out with this question about two wheels. So I was thinking about like the first motorized vehicle I had and all that stuff, but then I ran it back even further. So, I'm going to take you back to when I started out, but I grew up in Arkansas. And we got into some, I'm old. I grew up in the 70s. So, we're some proper Gen X here. It got into some stuff, me and my brother are adrenaline junkies. And, apart from shooting each other with BB guns, bottle rocket, shout out if you've had bottle rocket wars. I mean, come on now. You haven't lived unless you've had a gross bottle rockets on one hand, you're lighting them, tossing them, so, we used to get into that stuff, but honestly, where I started out on two wheels was watching Evel Knievel. That guy, I was enthralled by just watching him jump. I think it was September 74. I was born in 74, September. That's when I think he did that jump over in Idaho, where the parachute deployed before he ever even made it. So he like failed that jump and did this other stuff, but the guy was crazy. So drawing it back here, my brother and I used to take our BMX bikes and we would set up ramps, so we had this driveway that was pretty steep, go down a sidewalk, and then we'd set a ramp up because we could get pretty good air, launching off into the backyard. And eventually, that got a little boring because we're, again, loving the adrenaline. So it got a little boring. So we started lighting the ramps on, we put logs on the other side, pour gasoline on them, and then ramp through flames, man. We're freaking Evel Knievel, right? This is what we're going to do. Now, I also think back, I'm a dad. I got two grown boys. And I think back, like, where in the heck were my parents, man? It's like,
And did they even care?
Yeah. Like, I don't know about you, Simcoe, but like in those days, man, we were doing all sorts of crazy stuff, like hanging off the roof of the house, jumping off a 2-story house, jumping off the roof onto trampolines and just getting into trouble. Right. Didn't even come home until you heard the car horn. So I remember vividly us when I had a BMX bike. I can't remember, some really crappy, black frame, long banana seat, and we'd take that thing and we'd ramp it off over the flames. We thought we were coolest thing ever. And so, the flames go down. So I have to tell my brother, hey man, go get some more gas. He's 6 years older than me, right? So he's the one who's leading the charge here. So he goes up into the garage, gets a mason jar, fills it full of gasoline. I'm down at the ramp and I have the matches, the old matchbooks. And as soon as he gets close to me, I don't know what I was thinking, but I go to light this thing and the fumes from the mason jar blew up and there was like a flame right in front, a big fireball in front of us. And it took every bit of my brother's facial hair off of his face, eyebrows, everything, eyelashes melted back. I mean, it was one of those, it was like, oh, what do we do? You just caught your brother on fire. So we're like freaking out. But dude, ever since then, like it's been two wheels and just, being on, the adrenaline. I think the first bike I had, motorized bike, was a Suzuki FA50 scooter when I was like, I think I was 10 years old. And it was one of those baby blue. I don't know if you remember the FA50s. They no horsepower whatsoever. But we had like 3 or 4 of us in our neighborhood that all had these baby blue mopeds. And they'd call us the Blue Devils because we'd come tearing through people's yards, man. We would, whenever you want to go to your buddy's house, you didn't take the roads. You blitz through people's backyards. You would jump curbs, all that stuff. And these little mopeds. And from then on, it was just, I had fun riding two wheels no matter what it was. So.
Dude, what a life. I remember that brings back a lot of memories. You bringing up your childhood too.
Yeah.
The bottle rocket fights, man, dude, that was a thing. Obviously, I was in Florida at the time, and I remember every 4th of July, I was like, dude, bottle rocket fights straight up, right?
You got kids. So I do this too. I think back to the stuff that we did and I go, I would never let my kid do that. Like Golly, dude.
Never, dude. Shooting up, yeah, dude, with BB gun war, shooting each other. I still got
Yeah.
I got a scar on my stomach for being shot with a BB as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think natural selection played its part for us. I think back, I tell my kids, I never told them some of these stories. My youngest is 18, and I started telling him some of these stories, and he was like, this is like dad lore. I had no idea you got into stuff because, as a dad, you're trying to put on a good show for
Up front, yeah, up
well,
front.
you're trying to keep them out from getting killed, I haven't done a good job. My 18-year-old has a Corvette now that he bought and for himself. He ended up getting an old 1997 C5 Corvette. So I'm trying to keep him out of ditches. But they find their way, but they find all their way into trouble too. So no, it's good stuff.
Growing up in the South, I was born in 77, so I was right there at the
Yeah.
tail end of it, man. And the early 80s, the times has changed so much between now and then. Again, like you said, I wouldn't I'd probably do a bottle rocket fight with them. Let's just be honest, right? You gotta live, man. Like, yeah, let's go, right? Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
fire pits, jumping the BMX bikes over like we did? No, probably not that.
Yeah, you know what? Mason jars full of gasoline. I'm surprised. Like, man, we had throwing stars. We thought we were ninjas, with the all the darts and stuff. I still have like butterfly knives. I have a butterfly knife here on my desk that I used to open packages with. But and trying to teach my kids how to do the butterfly knife and stuff. But it's good stories. But that's how I started. Just kind of doing that stuff. And then after that moped, I got in all sorts of trouble with it and ended up. I can't remember how that thing got given away, or I think my parents decided they needed to get it gone before I got in too much other trouble. But dude, that thing had the best bullet turn signals. You know what I'm talking about? The chrome ones, the big round ones. They were the best. If you had two dudes on skateboards, you could pull those guys, hold on to those turn signals, man. We would fly down the main street of town. Now this is in Springdale, Arkansas, so not a lot of traffic, not a lot of bad stuff going on, but we had a blast in those things. But after that, dude, I was on BMX and freestyle bikes for a long time, doing stuff. Did some course stuff, trying to do the BMX route for a bit. Never really good at that. Did mountain biking for a while, but honestly, during high school and college, dude, I begged, borrowed, and stealed and rode other buddies' motorcycles as much as I could. It was just like I just needed to get back on a bike. I remember, I think it was my senior year in high school. I was in North Carolina. We had moved to North Carolina, and I was going to school in Durham. And right there on the main drag, 15501, there was a Honda dealership. And I remember probably once a week I'd go by there, and they would usually close after school was out, and I'd go and sit there and look in the window and see those, those Honda Super Hawks and those Honda Hawks and the RC51s. And I was like, oh man, someday I'll have myself one of those. And I did end up getting some, but yeah, I just loved them. Don't know why.
It's like me. It's like when you fall in love with a motorcycle at a young age, it's something that it just grabs a hold of you and it moves your soul in a way that nothing else moves your soul. No pun intended, wife, right? But
yeah, it's different, man. You crave it. Like I think when I was this was in Nashville. I went to visit some family in Nashville. My uncle, he's kind of a wild guy, and he had a Yamaha Virago. And I remember my grandmother was telling him that I like motorcycles. I was talking about getting a motorcycle at the time. I don't remember how old I was. Probably maybe 14. I don't remember how old, but he was like, well, okay, let's go for a ride. Right. So this is like proper Nashville. This is in Hermitage area, if you know Nashville. And this is old. This is in the 80s. And he takes me out on that Yamaha Virago, gives me that, that half helmet, no face shield, nothing, puts me on the back of it. I'm like, what is going on? This is your crazy uncle, right? So you're like, this guy's probably not right in the head anyway, your crazy uncle. But he gets me out into Nashville in traffic, and he's swerving and doing all this stuff and just blowing through lights. And it freaked me out. I was just closing my eyes because I was like, it wasn't because of the ride. I actually loved the ride. I thought the guy was going to kill me. We got back, and I think he thought he cured me because I was like, I don't, no, never again kind of thing. But I was like, I loved doing that. I loved riding it. That was the best. So I think instead of, keeping me off of him, he made me want him even more.
Had the opposite effect. I love it.
Yeah, for
Oh, God.
sure. For sure.
So, getting into that and finally getting in your own bike, what drove you to, the whole track day and all that? And how did you find out about it?
Yeah. I so I kind of I did a track day first. So I ended up getting my first bike I ever bought myself was a Buell. Um, I love V twins. I love V4s. I love a thump of an engine. I love V8s. Just something about them. The inline fours are amazing. I used borrowed a buddy's CBR 600 for a long time and rode it and loved them. But I love that thump of the engine. And so coming out of high school, my dad had a Harley Sportster 883 and he didn't ride. He was a doctor. He was scared of riding. And so I rode that thing everywhere, man. Like I said, beg, borrow, steal. I would find a bike to ride. So I took that thing and I would ride it everywhere. I remember riding, it was like, 20, 30 degrees outside, and I'd be holding my hands with gloves on the headers just to keep my hands warm, and so from there, my first bike, I ended up getting a Buell Cyclone. I don't know if you remember those. It was right after they had the Lightning and Thunderbolts, and then the Lightnings, and they did the Cyclones. And first bike, black Cyclone, and I love that thing. It was I probably should have never owned one because I was going to kill myself. I remember after I got it, I would pass somebody or I'd be on the interstate and I'd get, the wobble and the front end would shake. I'm like, dude, there is something wrong with this bike. Like, this bike is broken. What the hell is wrong with this thing? Right. So I remember taking it back to the Harley dealer. It was I think it was over off Fessler's. And I took it in there. And of course, those Harley mechanics, all tatted up, piercings and stuff. And they come out there, and they're like, this idiot out here on this saying there's got wobble, right? So I remember going in there, having to say something's wrong. You got to take a look at it. The guy gets out on it, goes, okay, let me go for a ride it, go ride it. He goes down the street, up the street. And I walked outside and I was like, okay, I want to see what's going on, see if he's seeing it. And I remember him coming by full gas, pinned, looking at me as he's passing by the dealer, looking at me just like, nothing's wrong with the bike, brother. He gets off, pulls over, he goes, nothing's wrong with the bike. It's all the rider. It's all the rider. And that was my first lesson of like, okay, it's all in your head. You got to get better as a rider. But so that bike, I went to a Buell rally up north. Can't remember where it was up north, but they put us on a track. And I remember riding that thing around track. And of course, they had this like turtle crossing on the track. I kid you not. And they were like, hey, if you see a turtle on track, like, don't try to dodge it, just hit it square on or else you're in a wreck. That's the first thing I remember them telling me that. Because they're like, if you're going to hit it, kill it. Like, go straight over it. You'll go over it. But if you hit it on the side just a little bit, it'll knock your front end out. I'm like, oh, great. First time on track, and I'm probably going to die from a freaking turtle. So we get out on track, dude. And it was the most amazing thing. And I tell people this who are like, why do you even ride? Operating at like having the adrenaline rushing through your veins and operating a bike on track and having it turn the way it's supposed to turn and feeling those G-forces and feeling the bike's chassis and the momentum and all of that. When you're in a corner and you get down low and you start to feel it. Now, granted, my first time on track, I'm saying this like I was going fast. I was not going fast at all. And I was probably like, bike straight up. I'm like leaning off, holy cow. But, I got on track there and I just loved it. I love that feeling of adrenaline. I love being on it. And then, of course, I'd be riding around thinking I was going super fast and I'd see an instructor fly by like I was sitting still, But so from there, I started riding on the street more because I didn't know the whole track thing. I didn't really understand it. Got into a Super Hawk, Honda Super Hawk, which I always wanted, and ended up going to Charlotte or Carolina Motorsports Park. My first official, like, I'm going to go do a track day thing, right? Went by myself, adopted some people while I was there just to make sure if I died, somebody could like pack up my stuff, as always. If you go to the track, adopt some friends, please. People at the track are amazing. Like you won't know them from anybody and they will come pack up all your shit, put it in your trailer like it was their own, they'll take care of it. That's the thing I love about being on track, but having your own crew is amazing. I've got a great crew. But that being said, when I got on track with that Super Hawk, you know, it was amazing. It was awesome, but it was scary. Turn one into Carolina Motorsports Park is no joke when it's cold. I mean, just watching the novices like wad themselves up into turn one, it's like a rite of passage. So it was awesome.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. And look who we got in the house, man. We got Hunter Malone. What is up, Hunter? And of course, the legend Trevor Watson. He says,
Trevor
looks like a moving knee puck.
Yeah, for sure. I look like a moving knee puck.
That
guy. We've got a lot of time on track together. Some of my favorite riding has been with Trevor Watson. So I got a ton of Trevor stories, but that dude's awesome.
Well, good. We will touch base on those here in a minute. We also got Joshua Swindle in the house. What is up, Joshua?
What's up, Mr. Josh? Mr. Josh, he housed me at a MotoAmerica event in his swanky triple axle trailer one time. That RV's got is awesome. Probably the best accommodation I've ever had at a track event. I'm usually sleeping in my little trailer. So that guy's awesome. Served me coffee and a unicorn coffee mug. I will never forget that, brother. Thank you so much.
Dude, legend. And dude, my buddy Cameron Smith, man, what is up, dude? I miss you too, brother, man. I worked with him out here at my current job. He moved to Richmond. So yeah, nothing.
That's awesome,
love, Cameron. Hope the new job's working out well for you too. Trevor says no turtles on track. LOL. It's hilarious. So bring me to the question, man. How did you and Trevor meet? How did this whole thing come about?
Yes. So actually, we didn't meet on track. And when I first started riding on the street, so I live in Franklin, Tennessee. There's this little area near here called Leapers Fork, and it's got some amazing back roads. And of course, it's got the Natchez Trace Parkway.
Okay.
And which is, it's a federal road. I've got some stories on that, having to go to federal court because of it. But we used to go out there and tear it up. I thought I was tearing it up, and ride around there, and it was a blast. And so I remember I met Trevor. He was on I remember it because the bike, he was on that Honda CBRR double R with the gold wheels. Was it, Trevor? You have to remind me, is it SP1? I don't remember what the designation was, but that thing was beautiful. White, red, blue. And I remember walking up to him. He was parked in front of the Country Boy cafe, and I was talking to him about his bike. So that was the first time I ever met him. And then fast forward, we ended up on track together with some other guys that Daniel Shoemake kind of adopted us all into a ragtag family. And Trevor was one of those guys. So we all kind of stuck together, and that's the Team Sloppy Sprockets, which, by the way, shout out Team Sloppy Sprockets. Awesome group of guys on track. Also, if you ever go to Chili Cook-Off with Fastlane Track Days, which, by the way, shout out to Fastlane Track Days. Opening weekend is next weekend at NCM. You have to be there if you're going to go to the track. If not, go to a MotoAmerica and make sure you root for Trevor Watson out there. But anyway, so yeah, we ride on track a ton after that. So that's how we met up.
That's awesome, man. He says the SP1. I have an SP2. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, he's gone through a bunch of them, but he was, dude, that guy on street, on track, no matter what, he can do some crazy stuff. And out of all of us, he wrecks the least. I don't know why he hangs out with us. I don't want it to rub off, but that dude never goes into the dirt. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, I've seen him recover on a bike that I would have wadded up at least twice before I hit the grass. And he's just a good rider, man. He's had a lot of experience, and which is great. Get yourself around good riders that are better than you. You'll grow and you'll get better. They'll definitely teach you a lot. So that's been good to ride around those guys.
Yeah, and on that advice too, keep your ego on the side too when you're listening to people tell you, because iron sharpens iron. We have a bad habit of thinking we know everything, just like what you said. Like, I'm fast on the street. I'm this. Especially when we first get our first leather suit and we ride on the street. I'm Superman. I'm invincible. Right? It's I'm blessed. I'm still here. I'll put it to you. Yeah.
It's the truth, man. I used to ride on the street a lot. I mean, I remember splitting traffic in Tennessee. I used to live in Fairview, and I had this guy, I was on that CBR 600 RR, and this guy in some Ford Ranger was chasing me through bumper to bumper traffic, trying to hit me. I remember this, and I was probably a foot off the guy's bumper, 2 feet. Hope my wife's not listening to this. She doesn't like me. She doesn't like thinking about me riding, but she's amazing, by the way. I'm not saying anything against her. She loves me too much. But a foot off this guy's bumper, trying to get away from him. Just, I could get away from him when I got some length, but in traffic, man, it's tough to do. And I think back of that stuff and I'm like, whew, I'm glad we made it, brother. I'm glad we made it.
I'm glad we're here. Yeah, I feel the same. That's one thing I worry about, my son getting older and being out here because back then though, we didn't have these. We didn't have people doing this all the time and driving and people actually paid attention. Well, sort of.
Yeah.
It's even scarier now out there on the street. I feel like every time I do go out there and ride, it's I feel like Leonidas against the 10,000 Persians, right? I'm always on guard. I'm always like looking over everywhere, especially again with these.
Yeah.
So
well, it's funny, dude. I was going to tell you. So the way I really got on track is I was out riding in Leaper's Fork and of course thought I was fast, right? Everybody, you always think you're fast till you run up somebody faster and there's always someone faster. And I remember I was riding on Natchez Trace and I would take Natchez Trace pretty quick. We would run the part from the bridge to Highway 100 near Loveless Cafe, if you know that stretch of road, because it's curvier. And I thought I was quick, right? And I would typically go and find other riders because I don't have a lot of friends close here that I knew at the time that were riding. So I would like see somebody riding and I'd turn around and I'd go chase them down and ride with some people. So I met some great people doing that. But I remember running into a few guys that rode on the track. One guy had a Triumph, one guy had a ZX-10R, and there was she had a CBR. And I ran into them and they were like, hey, we'll go ride with you. And I was on the Natchez Trace and I remember going through Natchez, man, thinking I'm fast, man. I'm almost have my knee down. I'm leaning over, going through the corners, looking back. These guys are probably way back there, and I turn around and they're like one hand on their hip, looking at each other. They're riding side by side. It's like, what's this guy doing, man? He thinks he's like Rossi out there. He ain't nobody out there, So I was like, okay, so what's with these guys? So they rode on track, right? So, once you ride on track, and I would say this to anybody who rides a motorcycle, go ride on track. It's the 100%. One place you'll learn the most about the bike. You'll learn the most about yourself, and the bike will actually be able to speak to you. You can't really get that on the street too much, especially not on the interstate. The interstate sucks. Now, my dad is a long distance rider. He did a bunch of the Iron Butt rides, so he's got a bunch of miles and time under his belt doing that, and I just could not go that. Like I fall asleep if you get me on the interstate. I've ridden a 12-hour ride and it was the worst time of my life on two wheels. I hated it. So just put me in a cage, man. Put me in a cage, I'll go to sleep. So if I'm riding on a bike and I'm thinking about work or other stuff, then I might as well be in a car. So
no, I feel you on that. The first I did, I rode from here to Owen because I went to every MotoGP race at Indy. When it was there, I rode. My dad had a 1200 GS Adventure. I'd hop on that thing and ride to Indy.
Oh yeah,
I get off it. I'm like, I don't want to see that thing until we got to leave in 5 days.
Yeah,
like not at all.
Yeah, I've had an FJR, which was awesome. I had an ST 1300, a Honda, which was also awesome. I did the dark side, by the way. I put street tires on the back of those things and went through the tail of the dragon one time. That's a whole nother story, but they're great bikes. The touring stuff is awesome if you like that kind of thing. But I cannot. Like I want to do the Trans-America Trail, like to get a BMW GS or something and do that. Like that's a bucket thing, but I cannot do the long distance street stuff. So no, not me.
I'm with you on that. It kind of puts me in a trend. I just want to go to sleep. My mind's constantly racing, especially when I look down. I'm like, shit, I got 6.5 hours of this shit to go. Right? Like, yes, I'm on two wheels. Yes, it's great, but it's a long ride.
And when it rains, it's miserable. Bro. It's miserable.
It seems like every time I do a long ride, when it rains, it don't just like sprinkle and kind of stop. It fucking rains. It's like to the point where I got to pull under a bridge and wait for an hour to calm down just to take off again. Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that's part of the journey too, as well, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you learn and stuff, but I will say, being on track, you just learn so much more so fast. And you're right about listening. I mean, look, we're all learning. I coach with Fast Line. I coach a novice and intermediate because I ride a supermoto, and it works in those groups. But it's awesome seeing people experience the track for the first time and get that energy and feel that experience of the adrenaline. start to understand what makes you tick, and you crave it, dude. You go too long without it, like going through the winter season without riding on track. Come January, February, of course, doing tally with Weir in February is never that fun, but it's you kind of have to do it. But you start craving it if you start waiting,
100%. That's when it's real cold outside. It's when you wear 2 undersuits and base
Yeah.
layers, even on top of that, right? We all been there. It's dude, the coldest I ever did was 18 degrees and I froze my ass off. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this again.
Where was that? Why in the hell did you ride in 18 degrees?
Because of my love of the ride, man. I just wanted to experience what it was like. I didn't realize that it was going to hurt and I was going to be crying and snot was frozen to my face and I can't see shit. And it wasn't fun at all. And it was only a 45-minute ride. And I was like, I will never, ever do that again.
Yeah. You hadn't experienced it yet. Yeah. I realized pretty quickly my cutoff was 40 degrees. Like I didn't have the gear for anything lower than that. And you have to have the layers and the right stuff to ride at that level. And honestly, you start to ask yourself, what am I doing? Right. What am I doing right here? Now I did first time on track racing was when we did, we were at Tally in February. And that year I remember it, the driveway had 5 inches of ice and snow and I had to chisel through it to get my bike from the garage into the trailer. Because all my buddies at Sloppy Sprockers had convinced me racing was the way to go. And we all got down to Tally and dude, it was so cold. We had to wrap the bikes up, put heaters on them. And it was just, right. Thinking back, you don't remember the pain. You remember the good times. So it was great when thinking back about it. But at the time I was like, I remember driving in the snow with my trailer in the snow, going down to meet up with Trevor and everybody else. And I'm like, this is stupid. This is the dumbest thing I think I've ever done.
Oh my God. But again, that's part of the life journey, man. And the beautiful people we meet and what I call our beautiful circus. It's just like when you fall in love with motorcycles, you don't realize at the time how much it's going to change and affect your life, right? And send you down these certain paths. And the people you meet along the way is like insta family. Like you said, you show up to a track day. It's my first track day event. I showed up with my buddy. My first track day event, it was just me and him. Green as you know what. Like I was like, what the fuck is safety wire? What are you talking about? Like, what is this? Like I don't know any of this, right? And they showed me at the track, people, like you said, they'll help you give the shirt off their back, and they just want to see you out there succeed and be. At the end of the day, they want to see everybody out there have fun, because then you're going to return back, right? Which helps grow the sport too as well. So it's awesome, and I couldn't imagine the feeling you get, Jay, from being a coach and coaching new people on the track and seeing that, getting that satisfaction, which is that satisfaction the same for you as you feel as what you accomplish on the track yourself, giving back to everybody?
No, not for me, but no, I'm not gonna lie. I love riding on track. So getting on track is just awesome. Coaching is a whole different type of enjoyment. I love it when you see it click for somebody and they start to experience the track and they have a great time. Like that's great. I would say the one thing, and I think part of the problem is that on track, when you have a coach that's on track with you, a lot of people don't engage with the coach that much, or they feel like, they can't, or they don't want to talk to them, or they don't want to find out. Like I would say, if you're on track with a coach, man, get help. Like ask them like, hey, what are you doing this corner? Or what am I doing? Or follow me or do something. Cause those are the people who get the most out of it. And that's where it's really fun. Like I like when somebody comes up and they say, hey, can you follow me around and just tell me, what do you think that I'm doing? How can I clean this up and advance and all that stuff? How can I be better? That's when it's got a lot of enjoyment there, because, I'm not, like I said, I'm not the best rider in the world, but there are some things I have learned because I've screwed up and put it in the gravel. So if I can help somebody else stay out of the gravel, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. And that makes me happy. So I think I've wrecked at about every track I've ever ridden at, except for Road Atlanta, 'cause I haven't ridden at Road Atlanta in a long time. So.
You sound like me. I wreck at every track. It's just like my buddy's like, man, have you ever drug an elbow? I'm like, yeah, several times, but usually my shoulder follows right behind it.
With the shoulder.
My bike goes the other way. It's my best Jorge Martin impression I've ever had. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. It's funny. So I've got a racing team that I keep. It's a sticker and everything on my trailer. It's unofficial racing team, but it's called T3OB. And I got that name because it stands for turn 3 or bust. Because one year all of us were wrecking in turn 2 of whatever track it was we were at. And one of the guys goes, "You guys are all turn 3 or bust around here." And I was like, T3OB, baby. That's how we go. So,
oh my God, I love it. So how did the whole coaching thing start for you? How did you get into coaching?
yeah. So how did I get into coaching? I think it was 1 year. I think it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. I messaged Chris Meyer. I'd ridden with that group before. There's kind of some swapping going around with different track orgs and stuff going on. I had been racing a little bit and just wanted to do something different. Daniel Shoemake, I was racing with him and he was coaching at the time. Mike Matt was coaching at the time. And I was like, hey, if you guys have a spot or you need somebody, I'd love to just try it out, and turned out it was fun. It was great. Dude, it's such a great group. A good organization that really cares about its riders, listens to its riders, runs a safe day. That to me is awesome. There's some great orgs out there, but I would say, Fastline, it's just Chris and Becky. They just really, really care about the sport and they really, really care about their riders. And so, and we have a blast, man. If you're gonna come out and ride, you need to be doing some karaoke at night with us and having some fun. Put your ego to the side and come do some Vanilla Ice. Come on,
bro.
Now.
Ice, baby. I'm with it, bro. I love to do some karaoke, man. I think, and I think that's a big stigma too. I think is, I already said it is. It's hard for us to put our ego to the side when we already think we have it all figured out and we know everything. And then when you show up to a track day, somebody points out, hey, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. It's still, there's some people that have that hard transition to take it all in and listen, right? Instead of, oh, I know it all anyway, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's fine. Running out of talent will solve that problem pretty quick. I mean,
real quick.
It's the hard truth, man. If you think and then you find out, like, I thought I knew when I went out at NCM first session one morning when it was cold, and Rimmer Samir goes, yeah, Dunlops are cold in the morning. They don't like that, so be careful. And I went out there and I was sliding all over the place, and I put it down in turn 2. Well, 1B. I put it down in the gravel, and I'll never forget that. I was like, yep, stupid. Thought I knew, had the ego, had come off a really good track day there before. And we're just, take first session, let it warm up. Come on now. What are
let
we
it
doing?
come to you instead of forcing it. One thing that also helped me learn too was to slow down to be faster. And change me and not so much the bike. Don't get lost in all this bike setup and all this. Change you and your riding style and the way you approach certain corners and all that. But again, that also comes with getting on the tail of somebody and following somebody faster, and then coming up to their pit and say, hey man, next session, you don't mind following me and tell me where I can improve or what you see I'm doing wrong, and yada, yada, yada. That's
it's interesting, man. I think the whole slow down, go fast thing has a little bit, I don't know that I necessarily agree. So here's my theory. So I'm sorry, Chris. I'm gonna. This is the way I take it. So a lot of times when I see people slow down to go fast, they're actually just going slow. I mean, they're just tossing the anchor in a corner when they need to speed up. But there is something to be said for working on specific. Yeah, smooth is fast. Yeah, definitely smooth is fast, but slow isn't always smooth. But working on things that improve, like thinking through, okay, carrying speed into a corner, or where your braking markers are, or opening up your eyes to see. That's one, dude. Even today, like, it's been a year since I've been on track because I blew my ACL out at NCM last year, and my first race was back at Tally a couple of weeks ago, which, by the way, I ended up wrecking and getting a concussion. So I'm 2 weeks away from a concussion. If I don't remember this conversation, I'm going to blame that. But when I got back on track, just you end up looking at the apex and not opening up your field of vision and looking at the exit or looking down the track, or like it's some of that basic stuff that if you just get on the track and think through, okay, this is the thing I'm going to focus on going this time around and start working on and getting that muscle memory on, makes such a huge difference. Some of that basic, and I'm a slow learner, but once I learn it, it sticks with me. So I have to do a bunch of repetitive stuff in order to just keep it up. But to me, that's where that whole go slow is fast kind of thing. But it's really about focusing on some things that you need to get right, that are the basics that'll help you be fast, but then also just work on some speed.
Facts, and you brought up a good point, peripheral vision, right? Being aware of everything that's going on and looking ahead of you, not being so focused right here, but be aware of what else is going on. Yeah, I mean, I guess also the point what I was trying to make too is like, instead of getting lost and making all these setup changes on the bike, instead go out there and focus on whatever. I'm gonna focus on breaking these couple sessions, like you said, muscle memory,
Yeah.
get that down to where I improve on that. So
Yeah.
practice on certain things every session you go out, and also try to change my body position as I'm riding too to see without making any suspension changes, all that, if I can progress too even further with that, and then go, making suspension and blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
oh,
It's a
look,
fine art.
look in the comments, Paul McGee. Listen, brother. He was behind me when I went off in turn two. So listen, this was going to be a great race. I think it was you that were you were number 3, weren't you? That was going to be a great race. And I hated that I set it up coming into turn 2. And yes, I made a mistake. I kind of looked to my left a little bit because I was going to dive on the inside and take the inside line because me and the other guy were having a really defensive battle. And as I came into turn 2, I overcooked it, put the rear tire, came up. But instead, I mean, coming up, it's not a big deal, but the front tire went sideways and came down. So I had to let off the brakes. Subconsciously, I think I just let off too much. Rolled straight up the bank before I knew I was in the grass. And I've ridden dirt, so I knew just to use rear brake. I put just a hair rear brake, and that thing high-sided me to the moon. And I didn't think I landed that hard because I got up. I ended up finishing the race. I reteched, came back out on track and finished course last. But I got done that night, man. My trailer was spinning. And the next day I was like, I cannot race this race. So I ended up packing up and heading home. But I think a mild concussion. I wouldn't say I've had buddies who have gone down. Mike Matt, if he's in the comments, he had a pretty bad wreck at Barber where he took a track nap. And I remember taking him to the hospital, and he asked me at least 32 times, do you know what happened? That was crazy. What happened? I don't even know what happened. Did you see it? What happened? No, Mike, I didn't see what happened. What happened? Did you see it? What? I was like, this guy better not die in my truck because I've got to rag on him whenever he gets better, because it was crazy listening to him repeat himself the whole way there. But dude, having a concussion it throws you for a loop. I didn't realize it until the next 2 days later when it really hit, that I was like, okay, I hit really hard. So glad I was able to finish the race, but yeah, I wasn't going to ride the next day. I wasn't 100% and didn't want to hurt anybody or hurt myself. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's concussions is one of those things that I wish would be better implemented in our sport. I know in BSB, they if you have a wreck and you get deemed with a concussion, you automatically sit out for 2 weeks straight up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's good.
then they allow you to come back, to do more brain scans to make sure what's going on and all that stuff. That is definitely a serious topic when it comes to racing too as well.
For sure.
Concussion. So, man, listen, dude, you've had a proper mega journey into 2 wheels and all that good stuff. And of course, you're with Trevor in MotoAmerica.
Yep. Yeah. So Trevor, man, Trevor's a good rider, and we started doing Weir, and he started getting those expert points racked up. And I think he had his sights on MotoAmerica doing that. And of course, he's got a ragtag team and Team Sloppy Sprockets, and so he needed a pit crew, and so he brought us along with that journey. And I mean, I would say this, man, it's eye-opening. Like if you're doing track days and you're in here, you should go race a Weir race. And I say that because the one thing you can't conceptually understand is the game of time until you do it. When you have a certain time you need to be on track, a certain time you're going to do your warm-up lap, certain amount of time to get the heat in the tires, certain amount of time to get your tires changed, like all that. And Weir is pretty relaxed if you've done it a few times. It's not like you're super stressed. But then, he pulls us into a MotoAmerica, and I'm not a mechanic, but I play one on TV. So he had me in the pits, and I was taking care of his tires and doing, bike checks and checking stuff out and making sure the bike was ready to go. And the thing you don't see that happens behind the scenes at MotoAmerica is those crews, man, they have to be operating on such a schedule that's super stressful. I mean, look, I'm taking care of a bike that is going to save my rider's life if it makes it through the race. Like if it's going to come apart, it's my fault because I didn't take care of his bike. He's out there. He's got to think about the race, think about and get in that mindset of racing and going as fast as possible. Last thing he needs to be thinking about is what's the pressure in my rear tire? Did it get set right? Or which compound is right and all this stuff. I mean, so when we went to MotoAmerica the first time there, dude, like we had whiteboards everywhere, pieces of paper everywhere with time, and we'd back into the time like, okay, we got to be on track at this time. Dunlop opens at this time in order to get the tires done, but they're backed up, so we got to be there at this time, and then we won't get those back for another 30 minutes, but then we have to have an hour for the tires to get warm. Of course, if you're running Dunlops, you got to heat them up to 250 degrees. So, side joke, but you got to have time for that stuff to happen, right? So you got to back into it, and then you have to get down there to the pit wall, then you got to get all your gear down there, and it's like, it's a lot to think about. It's super stressful, and we're not even the ones racing, right? So it's high drama, high emotion, high energy. So, I have a ton of respect after doing it. Like anybody who's going out for MotoAmerica, even if you're just, even if you're not qualifying, it's a lot to invest. Time, money, effort. Like it's massive. And Trevor has put a ton into it. So tons of respect. And that guy's super fast and a great rider. And he just, man, he cares for his crew. He really, really cares for his crew. And of course, his wife is the best chef in the pit. So she takes care of us. But it's just such a cool experience to be there. And, we're getting to pit next to these awesome riders who are going out there in the top 5, of MotoAmerica. And you're getting to see those get down on hot pits and rub shoulders with these guys and see what they go through. It's like sitting in Park from A when you're sitting with a bike. It's such a cool experience of just like, okay, what did he run? What's his tire wear look like? What is that going on over there? What is that bike doing? What settings did they do? How many clicks off? Like it's all that kind of gamesmanship that you get in racing that you just don't get at track days. Track days, it's awesome. But that's why I always say, if you've done some track days, you feel good about them, do some racing, because it puts a whole new perspective on taking care of your bike, making sure it's good on pressures, like understanding how things work. And it puts you in a different mindset, honestly, when you're racing.
100%. And also, going from club racing to MotoAmerica is a huge step too. Exactly.
Big step.
Because it's like, it's not as relaxed and laid back. You're like, I'll go take my tires in 10, 20 minutes. It's good, right? Not in MotoAmerica. You have this, like, if you miss this, you're assed out straight up. Right. So yeah, man.
Yeah. I will say there's, I've done it for several times and have had good experience with MotoAmerica, but I'm sure the crews that are there doing it have it down to a pretty good science, and they've got all the wheels, they've got the wheel changers and all that stuff, and they do their thing, but for crews that are down there, especially in stock 1000, who are putting in the work and putting in the effort and their side money and trying to make it happen, like I have tons of respect for those guys, because they're putting together a race program to make it happen. And it's pretty amazing to watch.
It always is. That's one thing I love to do, is when I show up to MotoAmerica, is step back after I say all my highs and hugs and all that, is when everything's taking place, watch how you guys actually work as a team when shit gets tight or shit's not going wrong or, going right. I love to
don't come to our pit. Because when stuff goes sideways, man, we start yelling. I think last year we were at Barber and we were next to Hayden, and one of his pit guys, which I coach with now, but he comes over, he goes, "Are you guys all right? Like, are you going to kill each other?" It was me and Robert, because we were going back and forth about a compound swap. Trevor remembers this one. We were going, I can't remember if it was the R5 or the R7s we were putting on. I think it was 5s. And we were trying to decide about 7s. And then it was like a last minute change, and I'm stressed and I'm trying to like get the things changed and get the warm and get them on for him to go out, make sure it's a good lap. And we put them on, and that was the worst tire pick ever. We picked the wrong compound, and he was sliding around out there trying to make it happen for us. But yeah, no, we were 100% like yelling at each other, like super loud. We probably shouldn't have been down there yelling. They need to kick us out. But look, we were having a good time. We come together as a crew, so we were making it happen.
Well, I can't wait to see it in real life next weekend for sure, right? Yeah, I can't wait to, see Daniel and everybody. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And here comes my son. What is up, buddy?
You was done.
So my son just recently got a girlfriend.
Shut up.
And he embarrassed, right? He's 12. So he went and dug up a bunch of change. He wants me to take him down to the store so he can get this video game so him and his girlfriend can play. So
what game are you going to play?
Kid version of Grand Theft Auto.
What game is it again?
Kid version.
Wobbly Life.
It's like a kid version of Grand Theft Auto.
A kid version of Grand Theft.
There you go.
And you can steal cars.
I love it. Well,
hey, have you ever had a bottle rocket war?
No, Rossi has not had a bottle rocket war yet, but we will this July. So my wife's birthday is July 4th.
Yeah.
Bottle rocket wars where I will get 2 bottles. We'll put a bottle rocket in it and we'll
Shoot
set
it
on
at
fire.
each other?
Yeah, we'll shoot it at each other.
Is it gonna hurt?
No, you need to hold it in your hand. You
Or
light it
yeah,
in your
you can
hand.
hold it in your hand. Yeah. No, it don't hurt.
I'm going to get you in trouble. So don't do
No, you're
that.
not.
Don't
No,
do
you're
that.
not.
I'll get you in trouble.
Rossi's definitely down for it, dude. Trust me.
We don't need you to lose any fingers. Don't lose any fingers because of us and our bad experience here.
Yeah, my wife, she'd be like, I heard that podcast, and
That's
hell
right.
no, you ain't have no bottle rocket wars.
Don't listen to that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, little does she know we're going through this July 4th for sure.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did want to talk to you
Roman
too,
candles too. Roman
Oh,
candles.
dude,
Sorry,
bro,
Roman candles are the
dude.
best.
and they hurt. Those are the ones.
Oh,
that
they
hurt
hurt.
when you
If you catch one,
Almost done.
they'll burn a hole through. They're
How
horrible.
20 minutes? All right.
my son, dude,
we're good.
bro, they will straight up. Like I remember the first time I got hit with one, I was like, "Whoa, that hurt!" Right. So now
Lots of taking
you got to
this.
stay moving for sure with the Roman candles. They're a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
it's
man.
serious.
Lots of taking
It
this.
is okay. You can have it.
20 minutes.
All right, cool. One thing I did want to talk to you about, Jay, is man, podcasting. You're a fellow podcaster just like me. So
That's right.
what made you decide to get into podcasting? And I know you do the Biz Crossover podcast, which I'm a
Yep.
fan of, and I'm a like and subscriber to it. What got you into the whole podcast world?
Man, good question. Why did I get into this thing? Why'd you know? I'm just kidding. No, I know exactly why. You mentioned earlier, you're talking about ego. Ego, when you typically talk about it, you know, we all think about it from the perspective, like, you know, too confident, you know, you got your ego, but there's another side of ego. And that's when you don't do things because you care too much about what other people think. Right. You have too much ego of what you care about, the way you look or what's going to happen. And you know this from being on a podcast. I mean, people get stressed out. You put them on a recording or whatever. And I have people that I try to book and they don't want to do it because they don't want to be on camera. And certainly there's some stage fright there, but there's also some ego caring about what people think. So there was a component of that and why I did it. Right. I knew I wanted to do something that fueled kind of the creative side. And also the Biz Crossover podcast was really focused on personal and professional development. So I manage, I'm the GM over a line of business for a software company. And I've worked in many different companies that are, you know, some of them are $1 billion companies, some of them are startups. And I wanted to continue developing my skills and leadership and managing people. And trust me, I've been in enough organizations that I've seen that there are a lot of really, 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 really bad managers out there, right? People who should not be managing people. And so I wanted to start something where people could professionally develop themselves and learn new skills and think about life a little bit differently and get better. I'm very much into professional, you know, personal development. I think there's a mindset of how we live life to move forward in life that we only have a certain amount of time here. And so doing what we can with what we've got and being grateful for whatever that comes our way, that's a huge piece for me. So I did that because I wanted to further develop that. And really, I wanted to interview some amazing people that had some amazing life stories that I would have never, ever been able to talk to. You know, I could read their book, but asking them questions point blank, it's amazing the people that will say yes to jump on a podcast with you.
Listen, I love it. There's nothing like sitting down. I guess interviewing people, right? This would just be political correct. It's an honor to sit down and be able to do this. I never envisioned in a million years, bro, that I would be a podcaster straight up.
Yeah.
Like that was the furthest thing from my mind ever. I was actually the first guest on this podcast.
Nice.
And that's kind of how my journey began since then. The other two boys. So big shout out to Jules, man, and Andy Rowe. Andy's in Florida, Jules is in New York, and Jules originally created the podcast. Him and Andy were doing race reviews. I met Andy at VIR. We started talking about aerodynamics. He wanted to record the conversation. Then he invited me on the podcast. We did race reviews. And then I was like, this is fun and all, but I seen a missing niche because I listened to a shit ton of podcasts, but I seen a missing niche in our beautiful circus where people go after all the household name motorcycle racers on the podcast. I'm like, well, what about everybody else in their journey, from club racers to track day junkies to all the people in the back grid of MotoAmerica? They're the ones that make the circus go round, right? They're the futures of the sport. I want to hear their stories, and I want to get them on. And that's basically what started my whole journey down. When I took it over, that's why I decided to do that.
It's awesome, dude. I think the fact that you are connecting with people who are in this sport and doing this, and this is what makes up the sport, right? I mean, it's all the riders at the track. It's all the people going to MotoAmerica, putting down their hard-earned money to watch that race. I mean, MotoAmerica is a show. At the end of the day, it's a show. The riders know it's a show. Everybody in the pit knows it's a show. Look, go out and do fan walk. Fan walk is where MotoAmerica, like, that's where you connect with the fans, and it's amazing. And so we know it. Like, if you're going to go and you're going to do these things, it's a business. There's a reason why you're doing it. But getting back to it, the reason what you're doing in the podcast, I can tell from you and interviewing the people who are on your show, there's a component of gratefulness that you have, because you see it. You get the opportunity to connect with people and their journey and their story. And that's something you can do on a podcast and talking to people. Now, you can do that anywhere, right? Having a conversation with people and being friendly, but people open up to you about their journey in their life, and you had never known that before. And dude, it just gives you something you walk away with and you learn something. It's all about changing your mindset. You know, I mean, we were talking about ego, and I actually do 2 podcasts. I have one that's mine that I do called Biz Crossover, or if you're searching for it, it's BCO podcast. But there's another one called Success Leaves Clues, where I do it with a buddy of mine who runs a program where we interview car repair shop owners. And so he helps them in their business, kind of like a kitchen nightmares kind of thing, where he goes into these shops and helps them turn them around. And, you know, they might be making, you know, $20,000, $30,000 a month, and he ends up getting them to where they're making $3 to $5 million a year kind of thing. And you start learning from these really successful leaders, putting ego aside. What is the mindset that's going to help you be successful, and actually changing the way you think about life, because it makes you a better person. It makes you a better father. It makes you a better friend. And you're better at business, you know, and you start earning more money, you're doing better in life. And it changes the way you live. And it's really amazing to connect to people like that. So,
no, dude, it is, man. It really is. But yeah, I think it's awesome, Jay, what you do, man. Again, I'm a huge fan of your Biz Crossover. It's just different. It's good to hear a lot of positivity and inner growth. That's one thing that helped me too, is like you already said it, man, changing your whole mindset on how you view the world. Right.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about, for me, one of the biggest things for me too was trying to let go of things I can't control and focus on more of the things that I can control. Dude, and what was saying that, I know that not everybody's going to love you and accept you for who you are. Don't really give a shit about that. I'm me. Yeah. I'm an individual, right? I beat to my own drum anyway. But I think it's beautiful to be able to connect to people around the world in our beautiful circus and get to hear their stories and their and get to know them on a personal level, you know. And I get it too on a lot of my, I don't even call them guest friends that I have on my podcast. A lot of them are first timers, and they're like me. Like when I reach out to them, Jay, just like you, I'm like, "Hey, I'm Simcoe. It'd be an honor to have you. Let's chat, bro. Let's do it, right?" And then they're like, "Man, I'm just so nervous." I'm like, "Don't be nervous. They're just 2 friends talking about what we love, which is motorcycles." But I get it, because sometimes I got to put myself in their shoes, right, and be like, it is kind of nerve wracking.
It's stressful, man. It's stressful being on camera, dude. Hey, and quick pause. I see Phil commenting in there. I think he said he's a corner worker. Shout out to all the corner workers, man. We could not be doing this sport without you guys taking your time, going out in those corners and picking up our crap when we busted into turn 2 all the time. So I know I've had tons of corner workers help me out, especially at Barber. I've gone down twice at Barber, over the tunnel, and one time into Charlotte's Web. We got wrapped up, but dude, they're amazing. Some awesome people. We really appreciate you guys being out there for us, sweating for us in the hot sun. And I mean, it's tough. Ask any photographer who's out there that sits out there in that hot sun all day long, and like they got to man that corner all the time. Like, that's a big deal. So really appreciate you guys being out there. It means a ton to us for you guys doing that.
Yeah, listen, I say it all the time, man. If it wasn't for the corner marshal workers, the ambulance, and the air fences we wouldn't be having fun on the track. So yeah, I'm always showing love to corner marshal workers, man. And people don't realize, even the cameras. I got a lot of friends that, you know, show up to MotoAmerica and take all the pictures, and the blood, sweat, and tears and the heaviness of those apparatuses. You see them with these big ass cameras, man. That's not light, right? And being
Yeah.
on track all day, and especially in the rain when it's raining real hard, right? And you're
Dude,
just
they're out there.
soaking
They're out there
wet.
no matter what.
Oh,
You know, I mean, and we get out there and we got there with our ego and we got there and wadded up and they're coming running out. I mean, I am so thankful. So many times corner workers have picked me up and picked up my bike when I should have turned around and helped them out. But it's just like they're out there, man, and it's hot. It's hot, especially Alabama in summer. I mean, dude, we were at in MotoAmerica. We were at Coda last year, and it was 112, I think, in our pit. We were swapping an engine in the middle of the day in 112-degree heat. I couldn't imagine. And we're under our canopies and we got fans and all this stuff, and they're out there. Nothing, at least just little canopy, something. But dude, it's just sweltering. So appreciate you guys being out there.
well, 110%. And Philip, I will be at Road Atlanta for sure. Jay's not going to be able to make it, but I'll be there. So come and find me, man. You trust me. You cannot miss me at the races. I'll be my bright pink or blue, dude. You can't miss me. Trust me. Yeah. So big shout out to all the corner marshals. And you're right. You guys have the best seat in the house. 100%.
Yeah. They're awesome.
So when I was at Mid-Ohio, was it Mid-Ohio or Atlanta? It was Atlanta. Me and my good buddy Daniel Shoemake, his parents, a big shout out to them, the corner marshals, and he took me down to a corner and actually snuck through the little gate and got to set the little thing. Like I was right there. I was like, bro, this is absolutely awesome. So yeah,
it's amazing.
It is. Listen, dude, we're approaching an hour on this, and I want to get into where we get to pick your brain and know you on a personal level. And me and you will definitely sit down and do a part.
This is going to be a deep talk with Jay Power and Chris Simcoe. Let's go.
Let's go, people. I love it, dude. So let me ask you this, man. Do you personally name your motorcycles? Do you have any names for them?
No, I wad them up too frequently. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't name my bikes. No offense to anybody who does. I just have never done it. Right. I don't know. I don't know them by any name. So
yeah, I love it, man. I used to until one day I just woke up out of bed and I was like, it's just a tool I used to get my adrenaline going. It's like the best tool ever, right? So ever since then, I just stop. I'm just like, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never done it. I don't know why, but yeah. So I remember them by their brands.
Right. Well, saying that, do you have any like superstitions when, as I always say, when you prepare for battle going out there on the track, like, you got to put my right boot on before my left boot or anything like that, or a certain routine you do?
Actually, yeah, I do have one. I always have to be chewing some gum. I don't know why it is, because when I'm racing, like sometimes you forget to breathe, you forget to like your mouth's open or whatever, and you just get dry mouth. And I find that when I'm chewing, it allows me to think clear for some reason. Now there actually, I did read, there's a scientific study about when you're chewing on something, what it does when your mental capacity allows you to think. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But I have to have a piece of gum in my mouth when I go out on track. So almost every time I go out, probably even I think track days, I do it too. But definitely if I'm racing, like I'll throw a piece of gum in my mouth before I go out. Outside of that, I don't have anything. I tried, I did take some, I tried to do the things where they say, hey, get into a kind of a mental zone before you go out on track and all that. I just wasn't disciplined enough to get into it and do that. So I get on the bike and I just go. So
I just have fun. I love it. So do you watch MotoGP, World Superbike, BSB, or any of that?
I have watched it. I will say I don't watch a ton of live TV, or don't watch a ton of TV. I'm the kind of I like doing the sports. Like I've played baseball. I love boxing. I like playing football. I love racing motorcycles, but I don't watch any of those sports. When I watch them, I like seeing a good game, or I like watching a boxing match or whatever, but I couldn't tell you who they are except for Caleb Plant, because he's from Tennessee. But I have watched some amazing MotoGP races, watching those guys battle it's fantastic. So, but I just don't watch enough of it.
It's all good, man. I don't get a lot of time to watch TV neither. I feel like as we get younger in life, Jay, that I feel like
exactly. More refined, Chris, more refined. We're like a fine wine.
Absolutely. I feel like, I'd rather spend my energy and my focus somewhere else instead of sitting in front of the TV for hours at a time. Do I still enjoy it? Of course. Do I still do it?
Yeah.
I do, but 9 times out of 10, it's only for motorcycles.
Yeah.
Or my
No,
wife wants
I
to watch
like
a
watching
TV
them.
show or something. So
Yeah, I like watching them. I think it's, so the races are amazing. I used to love watching like the Moto2 races and BSB because they were so much more interactive in their racing. Of course, love watching the Isle of Man, the TT stuff is unreal. Which, by the way, have you ever read Guy Martin's autobiography?
that was my next point. Yes, dude. I've listened to every
Oh, dude.
audio book that Guy Martin has. I got it on my
Yeah.
phone. I listened to it. Yeah, for sure.
That's a great, guy speaks so simply. It's such an easy read, but to hear him talk about how he managed the bike and the stuff he had to get over with riding on the Isle of Man and riding those races and powering through when the bike is completely out of shape, just knowing the physics would catch up with you, and it would continue to go straight at least. So that stuff is crazy to read and just to hear him talk about it. But yeah, that I love that stuff. I don't watch enough of it. I don't make dedicated time for it.
I do, especially for the TT. That's my end all be all race of the
Nice.
year.
Nice.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's funny. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Is that something you do too as well?
Yeah, I do. I do read quite a bit. I'm actually in a lull right now. I just finished a book. Have you ever? It's Annie Dukes. She's a world poker player. Can't remember what series she's in, but she's a ranked very good poker player. But she wrote a book called Thinking in Bets, which is a fantastic read. If you haven't ever read it, I would highly recommend it. She does all these business seminars with corporate leadership about the way poker players make decisions. So the book is a lot about how you make decisions in life. And so one of the things that she talks about in the book that was really fascinating, I think it's like in the first or second chapter, is this thing in poker called resulting. And so if I were to ask you, Chris, think about a time when you've ever made a bad decision. Okay. Now take a second and think about it. I guarantee you the thing that you've thought about when you're thinking about it is the result of the decision, not the actual decision. So in life, a lot of times we base our decision-making capabilities on the results of our life versus our ability to actually make good decisions. And in poker, that's called resulting. So for instance, you could be playing poker and doing all the right stuff. You still could lose that hand, right? You're not going to change your strategy just because you lost that hand, because in poker, it's a long-term game, right? So she talks to business leaders about that. And she talks about that in life, that a lot of times we take the results of a decision and end up thinking that's a good decision just because of the results. So it's really fascinating when you start to think about, okay, when I think about a time in my life I've made a good decision, the result might have been good or bad, but actually, how did I make that decision? And then thinking about that in life as you go through it, when you're making small, medium, large decisions, how can I get better at doing that? And she talks to a bunch of different strategies, which is pretty awesome. So that's a good one. I'd highly recommend that one.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I'm definitely going to check that out. I'm a nerd when it comes to audiobooks. If there's a motorcycle audiobook out there, I have it on my phone and I've listened to it. And I like, all aspects of life when it comes to audiobooks. It's something easy for me to just sit down, whether I'm driving to Atlanta, I'll throw on an audiobook 3-4 hours. I got a 6-hour drive. I might knock 2 of them out, right? But
yeah,
learning about different people's lives and journeys and the way they view things also helps us grow. Exactly what you was just saying with making decisions, right? It's a beautiful thing, man. It really is.
Yeah, there's some good ones. All right, right now, actually, I reopened up. I'm big into business books, and I'm looking at the way my journey through corporate America and what I do, how I help people be successful in organizations. I find large organizations fascinating. We're talking over 1,000 people in organization, $1 billion in revenue. How do you get those businesses to be successful, and how do they operate? How do they function when they're based upon private equity, things of that nature, and figuring out what are the ways in which you can navigate, because at the end of the day, it's all just broken people inside an organization, right? We all have failures. We all are good at some things, bad at some things. What is it about the ones that are successful that do things that help everybody be successful, right? So that part, to me, whenever I read, it's usually always business books. I rarely ever read fiction. So I just reopened Gino Wickman's Traction again. It's a decent audiobook, but if you're into corporate America, you're into business, and you love business, that like I do, I'm very passionate about the way businesses operate. That's a good one. Definitely has a lot of tactical information about how to be successful in corporate America. So that's another good one. I think my ultimate book, if I were to recommend any one book to anybody, would be Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I've read that book probably 6 or 7 times. Chris was he was a hostage negotiator for the FBI, and he started to put together theories and thoughts around hostage negotiation. So think about it. When you're negotiating for a hostage, there's no splitting the difference, right? That's a dead person, right? So when and he negotiate with foreign, organizations, terrorist groups, all this stuff. Well, for a while, different business centers like Stanford Business, they started pulling in people that were doing hostage negotiation, like Chris. He started teaching them the strategies of negotiation that they would use in the FBI and how to do that in business. And so there's a lot of things that he does, and he teaches corporate America on how to negotiate. And there's one thing that I love is he always says that you will earn the most money in your life in the shortest amount of time through negotiation. If you think about it, buying a car, your salary, buying a house, like the negotiation process for those can take minutes, but the money you get out of that negotiation per minute is far and above anything you'll ever see, right? It's if you just spend that little bit of time negotiating correctly or doing the right things, it's so beneficial. I mean, the stuff that guy teaches is phenomenal. So that's one of the books that I read. I've read quite a few times, and I use. I do a lot of negotiation for contracts between companies. We're a big B2B software company, and so there's a lot of contract negotiation that we do that can get pretty hairy with large logos within global companies. So we use that quite a bit. And it's one of the strategies that I think has been really great.
I think it's awesome. What was his last name? Because I'm definitely going to listen to
Voss. V as in Victor, OSS. Chris Voss.
Chris
Yeah,
Voss,
he's fantastic. He runs an organization called the Black Swan organization. A Black Swan is a thing that you don't know that you don't know. And he talks about that when you're negotiating because, I'm in sales, and a lot of it is understanding what is going on underneath the scene that you don't know about that you can leverage. So when you're negotiating, so that stuff's pretty interesting.
Yeah, dude, I love learning. Again, that's part of self-growth too, right? And in doing that, again, it's just like in motorcycles, you got to put your ego to the side to it's like listening to your parents sometimes, right? You're like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. I ain't gonna listen to you. And then you realize once you have a kid, you're like I called my mom after like the first 6 months I had Rossi. I said, Mom and Dad, I'm so fucking sorry. And they're like, what do you apologize for? I was like, I get it. It all come together. Like you were right. And yeah, it's you laugh because you probably had the same conversation.
I do, dude.
Dad,
like
sorry.
it's so funny. My kids are older, and I've got 2 boys. One of them's 18, one's 21, coming up on when's he turn 22? March next year. So yeah, he just turned 21. Sorry, I have to think through the dates. But it's so funny because I told him, my oldest, I said, look, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, this is like when he's 15 or so. I said, look, when you turn 18, you're going to think we are the dumbest people in the world. Like, we don't know what we're talking about. Like, you're right. Like, I'm just telling you, you're going to, oh no, Dad, no, I'm never going to think. Yes, you are. You're going to think we're stupid. You're going to like think that you know everything. And sure enough, come 18, 19, like that's the kind of where it was. But now it's getting to the point where he's finishing up his last year in college, and he's starting to circle back around and ask me like life and business questions. He's like, man, I am so glad that I have you to ask these questions. I'm like, I'm telling you, look, both my wife and I come from very dysfunctional families. And so we didn't have parents that were around very well growing up. So it's different for us, but it's nice to have him being, having that relationship now where he can ask questions. And I'm like, he's going to have to figure it out just like we did, so it's it's great.
I love it, man. I love it. Are you a coffee drinker, bro?
Oh, dude. Yes, highly. So at one point in my career, I was in between stuff. I had went to a startup. It wasn't working out. And so I hadn't been paid anything, and I don't think I had any kids at that time. I was newly married and I wasn't collecting paychecks, so I had to get a job. So I worked at Starbucks at night. And so I always did the closing shift, so you'd close up and I'd get home and I'd been drinking, probably 4 cups of Komodo Dragon or whatever it was, at the time. And I get home, I stay up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. But dude, we crushed some coffee. So that's one thing Trevor knows when I'm in the pits and I get up first thing in the morning, I am not a morning dude. And you have to get up early for all that stuff in MotoAmerica. Trevor's always making sure the coffee's on, takes care of his people. He knows how it takes to get us up and get us going. So, yeah, totally a coffee guy. Now when it's hot on track, I will probably hit a Red Bull before I'll hit a hot cup of coffee or anything. But yeah, I got to have some caffeine in order to get going.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like my coffee, man. I really do.
Now, are you? I'm gonna interrupt you. Are you a drip guy, or are you a French press guy? Are you a machine guy? Talk me through your coffee addiction here. Where are you at? What levels?
So I do love my French press. I think my French press is.
We're getting coffee bougie, everybody. So
yes, we are.
Hang tight.
Yes. French press. When me and my wife got married, my aunt that's now passed away, she bought us our first Fresh Prince, and French press, and I was like,
I like Fresh Prince. That's
me too, right? But I was like, man, I don't even know how to use this thing. So obviously read the instructions, and once I did it, I was like, oh my god, this is so good. You got to try this. And it took me a long time I still use my French press. Now I find myself depending on how much I sleep in the morning, that the Keurig, you throw the little pot in, but it don't it don't taste the same. Let's just be honest.
It's gas station coffee is a Keurig.
And I'm a fan of buying the whole bean and grinding it myself. That way I could do whatever, medium grind, fine grind, however I want to do it. And it just tastes better. It's the whole smell. It's the whole tingling sensation you get from that fresh, the coffee. And you laugh because you go through the same thing too.
Tingling sensation, brother. I like it. I'm making fun of you, dude. I'm sorry. No, you're right on, dude. The smell of it is intoxicating.
It is.
But yeah, I've got an espresso that I typically would do. It's a little bit elevated from a Keurig, but it's about the same thing. And then it's all about the grind. Totally true. But then I've got this thing this guy got me. It's I don't remember what it's called. It looks like a massive syringe. So it's a little plastic thing that you put this massive and you force the coffee through a strainer. It's almost like a reverse French press. It's really weird, but it does a great cup, and it's easy to take to the track. It's easy to just throw some hot water on some grinds and make a quick cup of coffee. But that's what we're doing today. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you like? I like my coffee black a lot of the time. Sometimes I'll do a little sweetener, but I feel like that just kind of ruins the coffee.
I can't. No, don't put sweetener and all that. The creamer in your coffee. Come on now. What are we doing?
It got to be black.
I'm just kidding. If you're doing it, who cares? Who do? Because I take it black. I drink it black coffee and I love it. Some people absolutely hate it and have to put some stuff into it. Totally get it. But yeah,
they don't really like coffee. That's why they got to sweeten it.
Look, I wasn't gonna say it, but I'm glad you finally said it, because that's right. If you're having to put all that stuff in, what do you like? Why do we drink coffee?
It, right,
dude?
Might as well
like
go
I said,
get you a milkshake.
I worked at Starbucks, and I tell you, the most miserable thing I had to do is make frappuccinos all the time. That is the worst. Like, it's not even. Those are milkshakes, people. That's not coffee. Like, stop it. Like, come on now.
I love it.
When you're having to coat the cup with caramel and put whipped cream all over, it's no longer coffee. So
it's not.
Your caramel macchiatos upside down, double foam, whatever you want to do. So no, not having it. Black coffee all the way.
All the way. 100%. I'm glad, dude. We're in that. So within saying that, tell us something we don't know about Jay at all.
Oh, dude. I don't know that there's anything you don't know about me. I love Aprilias. I will definitely have another Aprilia at some point. That's one motorcycle I'm fascinated with. I think they're gorgeous machines and love that brand. I do like Ducatis too, but you kind of pick, it's kind of like a Ford and Chevy thing. You kind of pick your path, and Italian bikes and Aprilias were kind of that oddball to me. The first time I saw an Aprilia, I was driving down the interstate, coming back from, I think, NC State when I was there. and I saw this bike up in front of me that had this, it sounded amazing. But the tail end section of that thing, if you remember the Mille, it had this like cool round headlights and this huge tail, man. It was massive. And I saw this thing. I was like, what the heck is that? Like, that's not your normal sport bike. And I remember, it was fascinated by it. And I went out the next year and I found myself a 2000 RSVR Mille, and I love that thing. So fascinated by Aprilias. I've had a bunch of them. Love adrenaline. I used to be a tower climber, used to climb cell towers. Right. And
that's balls.
Did a bunch of outdoor. My profession, I started out as a internet engineer. So I'm a certified Wi-Fi, networking, Cisco, switching, firewalling, voice over IP. The stuff that I sell today is software that supports contact centers. So it's very much, voice over IP and SIP and all that kind of fun stuff in technology. So I've always been in technology. But in long time ago, I climbed cell towers and put up antennas and ran cable and did, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's part of the whole adrenaline. Actually, my very first time rappelling off a tower, I was by myself. I had never rappelled in my life. And the weekend before, a buddy of mine had taken me rock climbing to show me how to rappel. And so I went and I bought all the carabiners and the ropes and everything because I knew I had this job coming up. And I get out there on this water tower, and I had a spotter on the ground in case I died, right? But nobody was up on the tower. And I remember buying the ropes, and this was in Chattanooga. I remember buying the ropes at this rock climbing store, and the guy's like, listen to me talk about these ropes. I'm like, okay, so you tie it like this. He's realizing this guy didn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's getting ready to go like rappelling. He didn't know I was climbing a water tower. And so he's like, tell me how to tie it. And I'm sitting there like going, okay, I think I am. This is before you had like cell phone, you're taking photos of this stuff. So I'm just trying to remember it, right? So I get out there in Chattanooga. This is, if you've ever driven through Chattanooga, you've got Lookout Mountain. You come down the hill through the town, and you drive up the hill, and there's Signal Mountain right there. And there's some water towers there. So I was up on those water towers, and we had antennas all pointing down in the city. I worked down there for about a year installing a big wireless network. And I remember running the cables, the ropes over the center of the tower, clipping them off, tying the knots, doing all that stuff, hooking up the harness, getting on there and just getting to the edge of this water tower going, like, I either did it right or I'm dead. So it's one way to find out, so you kind of like really, so anyway, that's the kind of stuff that I used to do that I think probably feeds into the whole adrenaline side of things that, you just kind of get into and you do. But yeah, I ended up living. That was a good experience. I rappelled that tower a bunch of times, getting that tower set up. So yeah, I've done some crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, I used to be, height still kind of bothered me a little bit. I wouldn't climb a ladder to get on a roof, but I went skydiving to cover my fear of heights. Now I'm comfortable doing it. It's like looking it in the eyes and saying, you don't have a hold of me, right? I got this.
Yeah.
But yeah, climbing those cell towers, bro, like I look up at some of those, I'm like, dude, there is no way. Absolutely not. I would do it if I had a parachute I could base jump off of it. I'd probably do it then, but just to do it,
you wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't even want to do that. Most of the ones I climbed were guy wire towers, where they're the skinny ones with the guy wires coming off of them. The creepiest thing you'll find on some of those towers is that they twist and move a lot in high wind. So I used to we had some in West Tennessee where it's flatter, and you'd get a lot of wind coming through, and the tower would do this thing where it twists, and I always heard about this, but I always knew that if a tower picks up a frequency, it can tear itself apart. So if it gets a vibrational frequency because it's not, guide properly or whatever, it'll start to go boom, 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 because it's getting the wind coming across it, and it could tear itself apart. And if you're, some of these towers, I'd be 600 feet, in the air, and you can't get down very fast from those things. So, and the dark side of this is OSHA's all over you about all the gear, right? And so you'd have the carabiners you climb rocks with are, about that big. The carabiners that we climb towers with are twice as big. They're twice as big and they weigh 8 times as much. And so if you think about that, I've got gear and a tool belt. I've got all the tools, and I've got double all the bolts in case I drop anything. I've got the equipment and the ropes that connect to the gear that's on the ground that I got to pull up, right? And so you've got that. Then you've got your harness and everything that weighs 10 times more than a regular harness, and all the gear that weighs 10 times more than a regular gear, and you're climbing these towers. they run a guy wire that you can use to climb the cell tower, but you're allowed to free climb because there's so much clipping, unclipping you have to do. It's actually more dangerous to climb that way. So a lot of times you'd be climbing 3 points of, contact every time, climb, clip, hang for a little bit, take a rest, climb. But it got to the point where, when it takes too long, you just gotta,
5 more minutes. 10
I'm almost done. I'm almost
Alright.
done. You can go
Look,
buy your video game.
Yeah, dude. Just give us a few more minutes and I'll be done. Okay. Rossi, dude, he's you can't do that. You got a comment right there. Anyway, Jake, keep talking while he's typing.
No. Anyway, I was only going to say, like, that stuff's pretty crazy that I was into. And it was a good time in life. But once it takes too long to climb towers and there's some dangerous situations you get into, that I had enough of it and was ready to do something else. And that's when I became an engineer and took a computer job in the desk to sort of configure all the gear that I was putting up. So,
dude, nothing but respect, bro, because there was no way you would. Dude, you spelled minutes totally wrong, bro.
Minting sounds good to me. 10
mintings. Okay, well, whatever that means. But yeah, dude, you got balls, bro, because there's no way I can. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'll go find another job.
Well, there's some of those towers. We had one, it was a T-dot building that actually would, when you got to the top of it, it would curve like an S, and you'd hang over the tower, and like you'd be off the side of the tower because it was curving so much. It was definitely not built right. It was definitely not rated for what we were doing. But yeah, I always just thought, look, if I'm going down, jumping on the roof that was next to the building. I've been on some really tall ones. There was one that there was a tower that was so high. It was up on top of the Appalachian Trail, and you'd see planes below you that were flying, little, tiny planes flying. Yeah. But yeah, it was, but yeah, I mean, some awesome times.
That's, dude, again,
for sure.
Balls, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. Good God Almighty.
Like I said, we got to some crazy adrenaline stuff, man. My brother's a rock climber, and he moved to Spain, and we're doing a bunch of rock climbing there. And he ended up traveling through the Sahara by himself to try and, like, that was his thing. And he's got tons of stories. I did a lot of orphanage work back in the day. So I've spent time in orphanages in Africa and in Russia and different places in the world, and seen a lot of really hard things. And that's why I'm so grateful for what we have. And you see other cultures in different places, and it gives you a great perspective. And, but I also think people, we take for granted also the simple things to be grateful for. I used to work with some orphans in Russia that they had a syndrome where they didn't know really how to be hugged. You'd pick them up and they'd lean back away from you because they never been shown affection from, adults. They had, state orphanages and stuff. And, my mom runs a nonprofit. I've done a lot of work, with volunteer work on the street with the homeless and different things, and different, different neighborhoods in Nashville. And it's just, you see so much that you learn what's really important. And that stuff is amazing. I'd say for anybody besides riding track, go volunteer somewhere, go do a soup kitchen, go work with the homeless, go work with an orphanages and see kids who are in really dire situations. It'll change the way you view life. Get outside of yourself, see what's going on in the world, travel, and don't just go to the touristy places, go to the places where people need stuff. It's amazing, connecting with people and helping people in the world. There's a lot of need out there. So
100%, man. Nothing but love and respect to you, brother, man. I recommend it to people too. I wish I could say I did more of that. I don't. But one thing I do for the community around here, for the homeless, is I'll buy meals, right? Like I'll go to a drive, see somebody there. I'll just go buy a cheeseburger, whatever. Here you go. And all my clothes, instead of taking it to like Goodwill and all that, dude, I go down to the homeless shelter and just open up my car. It's like, boom, here it is. All the clothes and shoes you guys need, right? It's my way of giving back instead of.
Yeah, I would say the one thing, man, for the homeless, I haven't spent a lot of time with them. I never give money to homeless. Never, ever, ever. I just don't. It's not a good way to go. I'd rather walk somebody in and buy them a meal. But the biggest thing to do is look somebody in the eye and just treat them like a human.
Yeah.
Of course, there's some situations, some pretty drugged out people that you gotta be wary of. I've definitely had some people take swings at me, but just treating people like human beings is amazing, just to see the connection. But definitely, go through proper channels, work with the places in the Nashville area and other places that give out food, and have them go through some structure. Homeless people hate those places, but it really makes a difference when you actually help them out and do those nonprofits and help them running, because they're trying to help people.
100%. Nothing but love for all the people that do it, man. That's a full-time job and dedication right there. That in itself alone,
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is.
It's amazing.
It absolutely. All the people women and people that do it, it's nothing but love and respect to every single one of you. We actually need more of you around for sure.
Yeah.
What's your worst habit, bro?
My what?
Worst habit. What is your worst habit?
Let my friends talk me into crap, man. Having one more drink at the look, missing first and second session, dude. You're missing the whole morning. I cannot look. I mean, whenever Trevor and I get to playing cards at night in the pit, stuff like that, or Beersby or Frisbee or whatever that game is. Turning down a drink, dude. Look, come to Chili Cook-Off. Seriously. Chili Cook-Off at NCM and Bowling Green at the end of the year in October is the best track event of the year at any org you'll ever go to. But yeah, for sure, getting talked into having too many drinks. I think Abraham Murphy, I think last time we were sitting at kiddie pool trying to stay cool, and we were passing around like bottles of tequila and whiskey, and I have a hard time saying no to spirits, man. So those are good times. Those are I will say, having a good crew at the track is amazing. The best times I've ever had on track were just with the crew, like not even trying to go out, like hit a quick lap time, like just going out there and tearing it up with your buddies and having fun, like getting chased by Trevor. He reaches up and grabs your leg when he passes you and does wheelies as he's passing you, look at you, trying to chase down Mike, Matt, and those guys, and Jeff and Abraham and stuff. Like just cutting it up with your buddies is the best time you'll ever have on track. So enjoy it. Don't take it too seriously. We're not trying to be Rossi out there, but it's awesome. Those times are good times.
They are. They're the best times. That's why I can't wait to go to track next weekend. I'm so excited.
Dude, you're gonna have a blast. Get down there, do the fan walk and watch people do. I will say Trevor is people's choice. And we joke about it. I mean, we don't really joke about it because it's for real. I mean, when people see that Honda and he shows up, if there's anybody who bleeds red, it's freaking Trevor, man. That guy, he has brought that name, and people see it. And every time they come up, they're like, when is Honda coming back? Well, guess what? They're back, bitches.
I'm here right now.
Come down and say, hey, and get some stickers and get some signatures and take some photos, get it out there, put it on social media, let Honda know that it's important to be in MotoAmerica. Like that stuff is awesome. We need more racers getting into MotoAmerica and getting some more people in MotoGP. So that's the only way of doing it, is getting racers out there and getting them going, man.
110%, man. I'm really looking forward to meeting old Trevor for sure. It's been a long time coming. Last question I'm gonna have for you. I do got many more, but I'm gonna save these for our second podcast. If you could travel back into any era in time, what era would you travel back to?
Any era of time. For me personally, I'd say right now is a really sweet time in life. So I wouldn't miss where I'm at for the world. Like so I wouldn't change anything about where I'm currently at. If I were to think back of time of life, because I'm a technology geek, I would go back to the times when, the Steve Wozniaks and, the Apples and the HPs of the world were getting started. Because I think that's a fascinating era in wake technology. We're getting ready to be on another one. I go to a lot of conferences. I have some presentations that I give and different stuff that we do, but I'm not going to geek out here, but man, with the AI stuff, the Gen AI stuff that we're working with, we do a lot in AI with the software we do. And we're on the precipice of another technology innovation era. And I think in the next, 5 and 10 years, when you start seeing hardware catch up with software, and when I'm talking about quantum computing, nuclear power, stuff like that, there's a lot of things that are happening. They're not there yet, but when things get there, like it's going to change a lot of stuff. So we're in another really critical industry age that's going to be fascinating to see. But I would love to go back and like experience the different turns of industry in the world's economy. I think are fascinating. I would love to go back and sit with Churchill. That guy is fascinating to me, definitely built for where he was at and his point in time in history. So guys like that, I'd love to sit with and just be around to see what was going on in those offices and those rooms,
I do, man. I do. Well, listen, Jay, brother, man, this has been an absolutely proper mega time. Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us your beautiful journey. And man, we learned a lot. And Trevor even says, I never even knew any of that. Good stuff for sure. Right.
We never talked about the tower climbing and all that crap. So,
well, this is part of the personal questions that I love to ask my friends that come on here, because people that know you and think they know you really well don't learn stuff about you that they never knew. Right. And again, it's always fascinating, and it's an honor, Jay. And I hope the rest of your weekend is as proper mega as you are. I hate that I'm not going to see you at Road Atlanta, but we will run into each other this year, my friend.
I'll be there for another round for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm actually going to let you in the podcast. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that watches this podcast, likes and subscribe. It's an absolute honor. Without Jay coming on here and everybody else coming on, I would not be able to do this. So you guys are the proper mega superstars. I'm just a host, right? So it's an absolute honor to have every single one of you on here. If you get a chance, please go hit that bell. It's important, right? Jay will tell you the same thing. He's a podcaster.
For sure. Like, follow, subscribe, do all the stuff, man.
All the things, all those things, right? And again, thank you so much for coming on here, Jay. I'm gonna leave the floor to you. And by the way, people, watch the MotoGP race tomorrow. It's going to be really good. The one today was good too. But Trevor says, fantastic stuff, boys. See you next week, Chris.
I see you, brother.
And fuck yeah, Jay, for not being at Road. Fuck you, Jay, for not being at Road Atlanta.
I know it hurts. I hate that I'm not there. I got a wedding, brother. I know it hurts.
I love it. Trevor, don't forget my shirt, brother, man. I'm coming to it. Can't wait. But yeah, Jay, do tell everybody about your podcast, where they can listen to you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, man, go out there, BCO podcast, Biz Crossover podcast. Take a listen, give it a like, give it a follow. Appreciate you guys. Everybody go pin the gas, go have fun, go enjoy yourselves. All right.
That's it. Enjoy your guys' weekend. And yeah, Jay, I got your number. So I'll give you a call, shoot you a text, and we'll go ahead and set up our part 2 of the podcast. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Let's go, dude.
I said hello, and I appreciate it, brother, man. Can't wait for
that. Yeah, it was an honor, man. It was an honor. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. And this will be out everywhere, Spotify, all that good stuff tomorrow. So yeah, you guys stay tuned. So yeah, we're out. See you guys. Let me end this.
Calling all two-wheel enthusiasts, get ready to rev up your earbuds with Pin the Gas Podcast, the ultimate motorcycle racing podcast, hosted by Chris Simcoe, one of our very own excellent leaders here in Roanoke, Virginia. With expert analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive writer interviews, Pin the Gas Podcast delivers the adrenaline rush of the racetrack straight to your ears. Whether you're a diehard fan or a curious newcomer, you'll gain insights that will transform how you watch and understand motorcycle racing. On your favorite podcast app, join Simcoe as he takes you on a high-speed journey through the world of motorcycle racing. Pin the Gas Podcast.